From Bond girls to pop stars to even a Jedi, a lot of people have been considered for the role of Lara Croft. Here's who almost brought the famous treasure hunter to life. Back when the first Tomb Raider movie was in development in the late 1990s, Denise Richards emerged as an early frontrunner for the part. Though she may not be as well known today as some of the other actors on this list, Richards was a rapidly rising star at the time. She'd recently starred in Paul Verhoeven's sci-fi classic Starship Troopers, and more significantly, played Bond girl Christmas Jones in 1999's The World Is Not Enough, opposite Pierce Brosnan. Her role in the spy flick in particular made Richards a strong choice to play Lara Croft in the eyes of the public, and rumors quickly spread that she was a shoo-in for the part. In fact, the Christmas Jones character resembled Croft so explicitly that some accused the film of stealing the video game character's design. After seeing the film, even Eidos Interactive executive John Davis told The Guardian, "She is Lara. She's tough, determined, and has buckets of attitude." Whether the similarity is intentional or not, there is no doubt Bond has fallen for our girl. In the end, of course, Richards didn't get the part. Though early reports made it sound like she had it in the bag, director Simon West later said that he had always wanted Angelina Jolie for the role. There may not have been a brighter rising star in Hollywood in the late 90s than Jennifer Lopez. After becoming well known as a dancer on In Living Color, she leveraged her fame to land leading roles in movies like Anaconda, Selena, and Out of Sight, all of which helped rocket her to fame. It should be no surprise then that Lopez was in the running for a role as juicy as Lara Croft. Multiple sources placed Lopez on the list of would-be Laras, and Paramount Pictures considered her a strong contender. Simon West ultimately went in a different direction for the character, but it's doubtful that Lopez lost much sleep over Angelina Jolie getting the part. Today, she's a multimedia icon and one of the most successful performers of the 21st century. Had she landed the role in Tomb Raider, it likely would have become just a footnote on her long and impressive resume, much like the role of Lara Croft is for Jolie today.
I bet.
By the end of the 90s, Ashley Judd had established herself as a force to be reckoned with in the crime thriller genre, starring in films like Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and Double Jeopardy with Tommy Lee Jones. As the search for Lara Croft's live-action equivalent spread far and wide, someone with such a solid reputation for suspenseful action performances was a natural contender to fill Lara Croft's combat boots. While the role ultimately went to Jolie, Judd managed to assemble her own impressive filmography. She's appeared in movies like Olympus Has Fallen, the Divergent adaptations, and both Dolphin Tale movies. She has also had a pretty stacked TV career, appearing in the likes of Berlin Station and Twin Peaks: The Return. In the process, she's proven she's the right choice for many acting roles, but apparently not Lara Croft. Catherine Zeta-Jones had been acting for a decade when casting for Lara Croft Tomb Raider kicked off, but she had just recently achieved her big breakthrough in The Mask of Zorro. The Martin Campbell feature was a huge hit and launched her to stardom, placing her in the running for the star role of the video game adaptation. Unlike some of the other contenders, including Jolie herself, Zeta-Jones actually came from the right side of the Atlantic to play the part of Lara Croft. The famed fortune hunter is notably British, and though Zeta-Jones is actually from Wales, she's a great deal closer to Lara's homeland than Denise Richards or Ashley Judd. Though she didn't end up playing Lara, Zeta-Jones did have a hugely successful decade in the 2000s.
What did you say?
The Mask of Zorro led to films like High Fidelity, Traffic, Ocean's 12, and the Broadway adaptation Chicago. Today, Zeta-Jones is still considered one of the biggest stars of that era, and she didn't need a starring turn in a video game adaptation to make that rise to fame happen. Still, it's hard to deny that she probably would have been quite good in the role. Any list of hotshot brunette action stars from the late 90s would be incomplete without the inclusion of Dutch actor Famke Janssen. Like fellow Lara Croft contender Denise Richards, Janssen had made a name for herself in the 1990s by playing a Bond girl, specifically assassin Xenia Onatopp in 1995's GoldenEye. Though that film is arguably more famous these days for the beloved video game it spawned, that connection to interactive media didn't help Janssen land the part. Still, it's easy to see why Janssen was strongly considered for the role by Paramount Pictures. Not only had she co-starred in one of the most successful 007 films of the era, but she'd followed that appearance up with other hits, like the poker thriller Rounders and the 1999 horror flick House on Haunted Hill. Though she missed out on Tomb Raider, Janssen got her hooks into an even bigger 2000s franchise when she landed the role of Jean Grey in X-Men. That part led to repeat appearances throughout the rest of the initial X-Men film trilogy. And though her grand finale in 2006's X-Men: The Last Stand was critically panned, Janssen herself is great in it. She stayed active in recent years with turns in shows like Netflix's Hemlock Grove and ABC's How to Get Away with Murder, but we'll always wonder what her twist on the Lara Croft character would have looked like. Though she was barely in her early 20s when casting for Lara Croft Tomb Raider was going on, Jennifer Love Hewitt was already a veteran actor. A steady gig on Disney's Kids Incorporated led to a breakout role on the hit teen drama series Party of Five in 1995, in addition to some other TV work. Hewitt made her mark on the big screen with 1997's I Know What You Did Last Summer, appearing alongside fellow 90s heartthrobs Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, and Freddie Prinze Jr. With such a well-defined background, it's no surprise she was in talks to bring Lara Croft to life. She had the look, the resume, and the cultural clout, though, like so many of the other contenders, she lacked a legitimate British heritage.
Trust me, it's not anything you want to hear about.
Hewitt may not have landed the role of Lara Croft, but she has had a busy 21st century nonetheless. Staying true to her roots, she's never stopped acting on television. She's had major roles in shows like Criminal Minds, 911, The Client List, and she famously starred in Ghost Whisperer. She's been a bit less active on the big screen over the past decade, but that doesn't mean she couldn't return someday soon. While many of the actors on this list were rising stars at the turn of the millennium, Sandra Bullock had already built a hefty list of starring roles before the release of Lara Croft Tomb Raider. By 2001, she was a proven box office powerhouse who'd starred alongside some of the biggest names of the decade. What's more, she was still considered an action star at the time thanks to her performances in films like Speed and Demolition Man, though she ultimately wound up leaving that genre in favor of meatier material. According to Isla Mel's Casting Might Have Beens, a film-by-film directory of actors considered for roles given to others, Bullock was in the running for Lara Croft. Given her current profile as an Oscar-winning dramatic actor, it's hard to imagine her doing all the swan diving and grave robbing in the video game adaptation, though the same could be said for Angelina Jolie. Clearly, Bullock had another path to take, one that's led her into the hallowed halls of Film Academy history and made her one of the most acclaimed actresses of her generation. Whether or not Demi Moore was actually in the running for the role of Lara Croft is up for debate. While some film historians have reported producers were considering her, it may have been more rumor than fact. Regardless, her name was thrown around frequently after the Tomb Raider movie was first announced. Of everyone on this list, Moore may have been the most established performer at the time, as well as one of the oldest actors supposedly in the running. She was already a star in the 80s thanks to movies like About Last Night and St. Elmo's Fire. And in the 90s, she starred in everything from Ghost and Indecent Proposal to A Few Good Men. Moore had enough fame and physical similarity to Lara that it makes sense why her name was bandied around so much regarding the role. However, it's hard to imagine her as a real contender, as she may have been too established at the time to stoop to a video game adaptation, a genre that took decades to become anything more than a gimmick. The last major actor heavily rumored to have been in the mix for Lara Croft Tomb Raider is Jeri Ryan, who rose to fame in the late 90s for playing the Borg refugee turned Starship crew member 7 of 9 on Star Trek Voyager. Because of the immense weight that playing Seven gave her in nerd culture at the time, she was discussed by fans online as a likely pick to play the digital treasure hunter. It's unclear whether those fan rumors actually emerged from the actual casting process, but regardless, Ryan didn't wind up with a part. Ryan has never become much of a movie star, but she's been a staple on TV ever since her tenure on Voyager. Shark, Leverage, Boston Public, Body of Proof, Bosch, and many other shows have benefited from her talents. And of course, she reprised her beloved Star Trek character starting in 2020 in Star Trek Picard. When it came time to reboot the Tomb Raider film franchise after Angelina Jolie's duology, several names rose to the top of the rumor mill. It wasn't quite the circus that the 90s casting call was, but quite a few big names were thrown around before Alicia Vikander finally landed the part. Back in 2011, when talks of a reboot were first making the rounds, some fans speculated that Olivia Wilde was going to take up the mantle of Lara Croft.
What more could a guy want?
Wilde herself later refuted these claims, and it would still be many years before the next Tomb Raider movie actually made it to theaters. In the early 2010s, though, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better fit for the role than Wilde. She was coming fresh off back-to-back sci-fi action roles in Tron Legacy and Cowboys and Aliens. and she had the exact kind of charisma that fans had come to associate with the character. Though she's continued to be a prolific actor despite never playing Lara Croft, Wilde transitioned to more behind-the-camera work in the late 2010s, gaining widespread acclaim for directing Booksmart in 2019 and following it up with the controversially received Don't Worry Darling in 2022. As early as 2009, Megan Fox was already being rumored to replace Angelina Jolie and reboot the franchise. Essentially Sports even reported that Fox was actually straight up offered the role, having risen to immense fame after appearing in the first 2 Transformers movies, but turned it down. These claims are difficult to verify, but it's true that Fox was a popular fan cast for the role of Lara for many years. If she did in fact turn down the role, there are plenty of good reasons why. Fox has been outspoken in more recent years about how harmful her sexualized public image was to her mental health. Given the sexist nature with which the character of Lara Croft was seen for so long, it would make sense that Fox wanted nothing to do with the part. Even so, Fox has continued to be a staple in action-adventure genre fare. She appeared in movies like Jonah Hex and the live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles films, in addition to a number of smaller, more artistic films and some TV appearances. The Tomb Raider reboot Megan Fox and Olivia Wilde were in talks for never actually materialized, but when talks started to surface about the 2018 Tomb Raider film, Star Wars alum Daisy Ridley was a potential choice for the lead. Ridley confirmed to Empire in 2016 that she'd been in conversations about starring in the reboot, but those talks evaporated completely by 2017.
What's the craziest rumor that you've ever heard about yourself?
That I was going to play Lara Croft in Tomb Raider.
Given how open she had previously been about the role, it's unclear what eventually ended those conversations. Regardless, the part ultimately went to Vikander. Though Vikander did a great job in 2018's Tomb Raider, it's easy to imagine Ridley in the role. Out of all the might-have-beens on this list, she's arguably the best fit for the character's more grounded modern incarnation.